Let me tell you why I made my own preschool assessments instead of using the state's comprehensive preschool assessments. The state mandates certain assessments for preschoolers that are way out of bounds, that are not developmentally appropriate, because you should not be assessing all year long. And they actually argue the opposite. They're saying that their assessments are developmentally appropriate because they're doing them in the preschool environment. And I've heard a lot of people say this when I'm sitting down and doing my assessments as well. The problem with this is I had 22 students in the morning and 22 students in the afternoon, 44 students in a day. And if you want to do a comprehensive assessment, that's across all areas, you're going to be assessing the entire year. You're not going to stop because you're not going to sit down and see if they know these certain letters. Like I do, you're going to do it in their environment. So they're going to be reading a book and you notice that they know a letter B and you're going to write that down. That is not possible with 44 students in a day. I counted up the amount of indicators that I would have to assess, and it was like 5,000 some. And the problem is not just that I would take up the entire year. I'd be assessing. I wouldn't even have a break before I start assessing for the next quarter. Also, the problem is who can use 5,000 indicators? Who's going to actually help their students grow from that? That's a bunch of paperwork for the state, and that's not going to help you as a teacher, or most importantly, that's not going to help your students get to where they need to be. The assessment that I created, yes, I did this on top of the state assessment, because this is actually what helped me teach. I test very minimal. It doesn't have rhyming. It doesn't have gross motor. It doesn't have it's not a comprehensive assessment. I do have other checklists throughout the year. I am assessing the other things, but in my official assessment that I use to share with parents, it is not comprehensive, but it does have social emotional skills, writing, letters, numbers, shapes, colors, just the very basic items. And what I do is after I do the initial assessment with each child, I give everybody 2 goals to work on for the year. I share this with parents. Based off of those goals, I create small groups throughout the year. So if they didn't know all of their colors yet, they're going to be in a color group. That's one of the most basic ones. If they didn't know all of their shapes, they're going to be in a shape group before they're in letters or letter sounds. So I start with the most basic skill. And if they don't know those skills, that's the group that they're going to be in. And then I'll call those certain students over for a small group during center time. And we're going to work on shapes, or we're going to work on colors, whether that's like playing bingo or some kind of game that we play together. We're going to work on that skill. So I created my own assessments because it's what helps my students grow. And I know some people don't like that you're sitting down and assessing students. It's at the beginning of the year, it's the longest because you're assessing all of the skills. I don't reassess them after they already know something. I don't reassess that skill. So let me give you an example. My son in green was the fall, and he knew all of his colors, so I didn't assess colors the second time around because I know that he knows them. There can be a regression, and maybe they don't know all of their colors now, but it's close enough to, this is not for a grade, this is to help me grow my students. So if it's 1 or 2, 3 or 4 letters off, I don't care. It's not about that, it's about how can I help them get to the next level. At the beginning of the year, it is the longest. It's 5 to 7 minutes per child. And if you can tell that some students come in and they don't know any of their letters, like if they know no colors or shapes, well, they're probably not going to know most of their letters or numbers either. So what I'm going to do, I'll find the first letter in their name. I'll say, do you know this letter? And if they don't know that, do you know like X? That's one that's pretty common. After that, if they don't know those, I'm gonna swipe my hand and say, do you see any letters that you know? This kind of helps it go quick because again, it's not for a grade. So maybe they did know 1 or 2 of those letters. That's okay. So I would rather sit down for 5 to 7 minutes 3 times a year than what the state wants you to do is assess the entire year. And it's not needed. I want to spend my time teaching, not assessing.